Reducing the Environmental Footprint of Gastrointestinal Endoscopy, European Society of Gastrointestinal Endoscopy, ESGE, and European Society of Gastroenterology and Endoscopy Nurses and Associates, ESGENA, Position Statement. Introduction. Climate change driven by human activities is an undeniable reality that already has visible effects on the environment and human health. We are witnessing an increasing frequency of extreme weather events such as hurricanes, droughts, heat waves, floods, and an unprecedented extinction of species and loss of biodiversity. Due to human activities, the global temperature has risen about 1.2 degrees Celsius since the late 19th century. The Arctic sea ice is steadily declining and has reached its minimum for at least the last 1,000 years, and glaciers are retreating worldwide. The years 2016 and 2020 were the warmest since temperatures have been recorded. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, of the United Nations, which comprises more than 1,300 scientists, claims that global temperatures will rise during this century by up to 4 to 5 degrees Celsius unless immediate action is taken, primarily due to the increase in human-driven greenhouse gas, GHG, production and the destruction of ecosystems. Climate change has an insidious but relentless and significant adverse effect on health. Notably, high temperatures and air pollution have a synergistic negative impact on physical and psychological health. An increase in morbidity and mortality from heat stroke, infectious disease, and exacerbations of cardiovascular and respiratory disease is expected due to global warming. Considering all the above, there is an urgent need for change. Governments, industries, institutions, individuals, and scientific societies can and must do more to face the environmental crisis. Healthcare systems contribute significantly to the emission of GHGs. Preliminary studies suggest that gastrointestinal GI endoscopy is one of the largest polluters and waste generators. Currently, there is little awareness, assessment, or guidance from medical societies about the environmental impact of clinical practice. This position statement emphasizes the commitment of the European Society of Gastrointestinal Endoscopy, ESGE, and the European Society of Gastroenterology and Endoscopy Nurses and Associates, ESGENA, to combating climate change. Therefore, the main aims of this document are to raise awareness of the ecological footprint of GI endoscopy and to provide guidance to reduce its environmental impact in clinical practice, education, and research. Main statements. GI endoscopy is a resource-intensive activity with a significant yet poorly assessed environmental impact. ESGE, ESGENA recommend adopting immediate actions to reduce the environmental impact of GI endoscopy. ESGE, ESGENA recommend adherence to guidelines and implementation of audit strategies on the appropriateness of GI endoscopy to avoid the environmental impact of unnecessary procedures. ESGE, ESGENA recommend the embedding of reduce, reuse, and recycle programs in the GI endoscopy unit. ESGE, ESGENA suggests that there is an urgent need to reassess and reduce the environmental and economic impact of single-use GI endoscopic devices. ESGE, ESGENA suggest against routine use of single-use GI endoscopes. However, their use could be considered in highly selected patients on a case-by-case basis. ESGE, ESGENA recommend inclusion of sustainability in the training curricula of GI endoscopy and as a quality domain. ESGE, ESGENA recommend conducting high-quality research to quantify and minimize the environmental impact of GI endoscopy. ESGE, ESGENA recommend that GI endoscopy companies assess, disclose, and audit the environmental impact of their value chain. ESGE, ESGENA recommend that GI endoscopy should become a net zero greenhouse gas emissions practice by 2050.